A big Tea Party in Washington today. Flashback to February 27, 2009, just 5 years ago, the first protest kicking off across the U.S. So what do Tea Partiers see for their future? And for the midterm elections, Griff Jenkins reports.
Tread on me! Don't tread on me!
5 years ago, Tea Party protests erupted around the nation.
This is America. We're thinking of having a Chicago Tea Party in July. All you capitalists that want to show up to Lake Michigan, I'm going to start organizing.
What followed was 5 years of grassroots organizing against bailouts, against big government, against Obamacare and IRS targeting.
The same issues that started us are still by far the most important issues for our organization.
What are the issues that drive you?
For me, really, it's the generational poverty in the black community.
Too much regulation, too much taxes, too much overpowering of the government.
What drives me to be in this movement is liberty.
What we're seeing right now are cracks in the very foundation of our government. We're supposed to be a country of the people, by the people, and for the people. That means the government has to trust the people, and we have to be able to trust the government. And when we see agencies like the IRS or the NSA abusing their power, then that trust is shattered.
But critics of the Tea Party claim that they're supported by secret money from wealthy elites like the Koch brothers.
These two brothers are trying to buy America.
We confronted them about those critics. Do you take orders from the Koch brothers?
I've never even met the Koch brothers.
Some suggest that you're being used as an instrument, taking marching orders from people like the Koch brothers.
Well, my marching orders come from James Madison and Thomas Jefferson.
I don't take marching orders from anybody.
The only person I take an order from is my wife.
But just how much influence does a grassroots group like this actually have?
It's funny how the media and our critics want to say that we're dead and not powerful, and at the same time blame us for problems.
Not all Americans would necessarily identify themselves as people who would attend a rally. But the sentiment underlying this movement exists, and it's growing.
And great things are going to happen in the 2016 elections.
So 5 years later, is the Tea Party picking up steam or losing steam? Our political panel is back. ABC News political director Rick Klein, Washington Examiner chief political correspondent Byron York, and the Wall Street Journal's Jason Riley. Rick, to you, picking up steam or losing steam?
The Tea Party is 5. They're kindergartners, which means that they're, making some progress in some ways, but misbehaving in other ways and getting slapped down in other ways. It's still learning. It's getting its footing. I think, look, it's been such mixed success each of the last election cycles to see the great successes in 2010, but also some not so great successes. 2012, a setback. I don't know what we know the future yet. I think the primaries that are just starting next week are going to determine a lot about how the Tea Party has matured, how you channel that movement. I think we're just still learning a lot of things because they're pretty young.
I think the Tea Party has always been a sensibility and a set of beliefs more than an actual party. The Tea Party events that I covered in 2009, these were people who were very, very concerned about government spending, about taxes. TARP had just blown their minds, and they were very against the stimulus. And I think that is still the core sentiment of the Tea Party. When they became an organization, in some cases they kind of turned into a racket, like what happens in Washington when Dick Armey walked away from Freedom Works with several $1 million. So I think they've had trouble actually turning into an actual organization, but those core beliefs are still there and they animate the Republican base.
Jason.
I think that the Tea Party has a lot to be proud of. They clearly influenced those 2010 elections, and this Republican majority that we have has been a check on the president and the Democrats, and they can be proud of that. The polling has been very interesting. It hasn't budged much over the past 5 years, which is interesting. About 25% of the public call themselves supporters. About 2/3 don't. That was true in 2010. It was true. It's still true today, which is pretty remarkable. I do think that when it comes to some of the candidates that we see today, running, for instance, in the midterm elections, challenging some of these Republican incumbents, they're not doing particularly well in Kentucky, in Texas, in Kansas. They are way behind. So the question is whether the public sees, again, much of a distinction in some of these races between people who self-describe as conservative Republicans and people who self-describe as Tea Partiers.
Panel, thank you as always.